Here's a very common question I've been getting lately as far as, Mauricio, what are the top pairs to trade when it comes to being a beginner? Now, this is a very important question that many tend to overlook. And the reason why is because a lot of individuals try to go ahead and trade, very volatile pairs such as GBP, JPY, GBP USD, indices such as US 30, commodities as gold and silver. And if you're a beginner and you're trying to trade those pairs, it's going to become very difficult due to the fact that those pairs move very quickly, and you have to be very fast. On top of that, it does require a little bit more capital when it comes to trading those pairs because of how fast it moves and how much money you can either gain or lose at the same time when it comes to those specific pairs because of the movements that are created. So when it comes to the top pairs that I like to go ahead and recommend to anybody that's new or kind of like in the beginner stage where intermediate, I always like to say look into major pairs. And those major pairs are any pair that has a dollar correlated with it. So any pair that has the dollar involved with it. So let's say Euro USD is a great pair to trade. Euro USD can trade both on New York and London session. Now there's also GBP USD. GBP USD is something that I would tell a beginner to do once he's more like towards the intermediate, once he's a little bit more advanced, and once he starts seeing, a little bit more towards patterns and knows how to actually have that risk management. So I'd leave GBP USD towards the end, but still a very great pair for beginners trying to go into intermediate, potentially advanced, okay? But one of my favorite pairs that I would recommend to any individual is USD Cad, right? USD Cad is a very great pair that you'll be able to see that moves approximately between 60 to 80 pips in good days on average, right? Now, typically you also see some movements of 40 pips, 50, 60 consistently. However, on the good days, it goes 80 pips, sometimes even 100 pips. But the thing about it, it has a very consistent movement on USD Cad. And the reason why is because most of those moves happen during and only during New York session. So therefore, if you go ahead and give yourself a certain time to trade, in this case, New York session, you'll be able to actually understand how this pair moves gradually every single day, and you'll be able to spot little things that you probably did not spot in the past, right? So USD CAD is overall one of my favorite pairs to trade, especially when it comes to beginners, when it comes to intermediate and advanced. And the reason why I'm saying it's also for advanced people is because once you get so good at USD CAD, your entries will be so precise where you'll only be risking 1, 2, 3, 5 pips max. And it's crazy how accurate you can be with USD CAD and the risk reward that I can provide to you. Now, on the other side, when it comes to beginners, you'll only be having drawdowns about 15, 20, 30 pips max for that specific pair. So it's something that I highly recommend when it comes to USD CAD. It's a pair that gradually moves, not too fast, not too slow, but at the right point, right? There's also another pair, which is AUD USD. AUD USD is a much slower pair. It's something that I would recommend pretty much to the brand new people that are brand new and beginners, because it does move very slow. And for people that are a little bit more advanced, you might get a little bit frustrated of how slow it moves. And typically this pair will be also be moving during the New York session. So all these pairs that I'm mentioning you, which is Euro USD, GBP USD, AUD USD, USD CAD, these pairs move during New York session. And if you actually put the time in to study these specific pairs towards the New York session, you'll be able to identify certain criteria that you potentially did not find in the past, because you were looking at these pairs all over the time, right? All over the place. There's also NZD USD, a great pair. However, sometimes a little bit manipulated. But for NZD USD news event, one of my favorite news events for NZD USD is CPI news. Now that's a little hint I'm going to give you guys, because I will be talking about that later on in the future when it comes to fundamentals. And there's also USD Jpy. USD Jpy used to be one of my favorite pairs, a year, 2 years back. And the reason why is due to the fact that, one, it's a USD pair, it's a major pair, and two, it's a safe haven with the JPY, with the Japanese yen. So therefore, whenever I knew something fundamental from a fundamental standpoint, I knew that it was immediately going to react when it comes to USD Jpy, because it has that safe haven. So it gave me a little bit more of a heads up to understand the overall direction for that pair. So if you're trying to get into fundamentals and understand gradually how it moves, USD Jpy is a perfect pair for you. If you're trying to go into, understand the market and you're very, very brand new to trading, AUD USD is a pair that I would highly recommend. And if you're somebody that's intermediate, wanting to perfect those entries, or even though you're somebody that's new but also want to have a gradual growth with your trading, USD Cad is definitely one of the ones I would highly recommend. It's one of my favorite. And later on, down the road, when you want to get a little bit more consistent with volatile pairs that are a little bit more consistent when it comes to 100 pip moves, 200 pip moves, GBP USD. So with that said, guys, I hope this video was able to go ahead and help you guys understand a little bit more as far as what are the pairs that I highly recommend for beginners. Those are the pairs that I recommend every single time for beginners, and also understand that these pairs are going to mainly be moving during the New York session. So again, I highly recommend you to take a look at these pairs during the New York session, look at the patterns and see what happens. So with that said, guys, thank you for seeing this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.